Joined by my great co-host Joe Viso and a mainstay of Sleepless with Steve making his return, his first show of the year, hopefully the sign of many more. Kevin Deiber, again, one of the mainstays of Sleepless with Steve, was on this show before the show was even official back last year. So it is great to have you back, Kevin. Joe as well. What's going on, gentlemen? How's everything going today?
Oh, it's going real good, Steve. I'm real glad to be back. It's an honor.
It's great.
Yeah.
And for a big day, too. How you doing, Joe?
I'm doing pretty good.
This is going to be a great show, I tell you, because for the first hour, we have got, I'm not going to call them our raw reactions because we've had a good, 16 hours now to kind of absorb these, but it's going to be basically our reactions to the Oscar nominations in, I would say, most of the 24 categories. I'm going to take on a limb and say you guys missed a lot of the best documentary short features. I bet.
What makes you say that?
Yeah, just a blind luck over here. You know, it's funny. I will say this, though. I don't know if you two have any interest, but every year for like the last 4 years, and we'll get right into this. I just want to make this point. For years, the best live action short film and the best animated short film were like the who cares categories, because they would always frustrate people like me that were really into movies, because even, like I said, 5-6 years ago, you had no way of seeing them. There was like, they would be nominated and everything. You'd hear the names, but you'd be like, well, where can I watch these things? Sure. Like, where are they showing them? Well, now what they do for live action, not for documentary shorts, those are still kind of independently owned, but for live action short films and for animated short films, those two categories, what Shorts HD, the company, does now is in February, this year it's February 21st, they release them on like Amazon Instant Video, iTunes for like something around like $5.99 or so to rent, and it winds up being it winds up being the set that you can watch. It's like 2.5 hours because it's all 5 short films.
Oh wow!
But there's some places like that, like in the Music Box in Chicago, that show full theatrical releases and stuff.
I was about to say AMC sometimes does it too.
They do. It's hard to find them though. It's hard to find some of these ones. I rent them off. I've been renting them off Amazon for the last about 3 years or so, and then I do big reviews of them all. So that's how you can see the short films, at least.
Well, it's going in my notebook. That's good to know.
Yes, it's February 21st this year. That's when they do come out.
Very cool.
The only thing is, though, is if there's usually, and I think there's not one this year, but if there's usually a Disney or Pixar animated short, that's not included in the short set. Disney wants to keep that, so it's always one short. It's always one short. But good to have both of you gentlemen with me tonight. Like I said, it is the 90th Academy Awards on March 4th, and they came out with the announcements today. I don't know if were either of you up at the great hour of 7 o'clock in the morning to watch these nominations live? Anybody?
No, I was not.
You guys had better things to do.
I had to be up at 8 for class, so I got up at 7:50.
I don't blame you. I remember one year, I think it was my freshman year, I had an 8 o'clock class too on Tuesday morning when they were announced. I remember having my headphones in with it in with my phone in my pocket, walking to class, listening to the nominations, like reacting as I'm walking too. It was an embarrassing thing. But we're gonna kind of keep it free form. I'm really interested to hear what you gentlemen want to talk about. Of course, we're gonna hit the big reactions to the big categories: Best Picture, Actor, Actress, Supporting Actor, Actress, and Directing. A couple notes though, just for the kind of overarching notes of this though, just for the just external factors of the Oscars this year. First off, no nominations for Wonder Woman. What do we make of that? That's about my reaction too. That's about my reaction.
People were like, "Why didn't she get Best Director?" And we've talked about
Patty
that before.
Jenkins.
Patty Jenkins. Why didn't Patty Jenkins get Best Director? Well, Greta Gerwig and Catherine Bigelow made 2 better movies that probably need a nomination more for a woman director, honestly.
Yeah, that's another thing. Detroit didn't get anything either.
Yeah.
I was surprised by that one. I thought that was pretty Oscar baity.
I'm not. I mean, what's funny is it's less. In my opinion, it's less Oscar bait than like something like Zero Dark 30, but it's also it's way better. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it didn't get anything. Also, only one nomination for The Big Sick. Only one.
I was really
for the
disappointed
Big Sick.
in that.
And that's that's of course original screenplay. No other nominations for Big Sick. When we hit the specific categories, we'll say if they should have been nominated. I can now officially make this claim. It's a controversial claim, but I will make this claim. For Best Animated Feature, okay, we have The Boss Baby, we have and Ferdinand. Two of the lesser reviewed animated films. There's no Lego Batman. I'm going to go on a limb here. Now I got confirmation, okay? Because they didn't nominate the Lego movie back in 2014. You remember that?
Yeah.
We had 2 Lego movies this year. Lego Batman movie, Lego Ninjago movie. The Academy Award has an extreme prejudice against black people. That's really what it comes down to.
You know, I've definitely heard you make that joke before,
I know.
Steve.
Well, now I got confirmation. Now it's confirmation time, you know? I had to. And then last but not least, and I know this fact hits a little bit sorely, I believe, for Joe a little bit more than me, but it's still a big thing. I was expecting it, but no love for Wind River either.
Yeah.
And I think that's got a lot to do with Harvey Weinstein.
Honestly, yeah, it's
that's
that.
got a lot
and also
to do.
just walking out of that movie, my friend was also mad that Blade Runner didn't get nominated for anything like big director or best picture. And both that movie and Wind River, I walked out, I'm like, as much as I love these movies, I don't think it's going to get nominated for best picture or best director.
Yeah, Wind River I would have liked to see get like a screenplay or something,
Yeah.
Taylor Sheridan.
I wanted to see Jeremy Renner, right?
Yeah, Jeremy Renner.
Yeah, I wanted to see him get nominated for something. I was really hoping for that because I thought he did really good in that movie.
Yeah, I hear you. Those are just the overarching thoughts that were swirling in my mind shortly after the Oscar nominations were announced by Andy Serkis and Tiffany Haddish. Andy Serkis, of course, from the new Planet of the Apes trilogy, on top of a boatload of other films. He was involved in the Lord of the Rings films, and then Tiffany Haddish, of course, from Girls Trip. So it was an interesting dynamic at play. It was a little bit better than it normally is. You know what I mean? Like, there was a big thing about Tiffany Haddish mispronouncing all the names, and I'm like, and everybody was saying like, oh, why do they have her on if she's mispronouncing names? I do it every week on Sleepless. And she's on a bigger stage. You know what I mean?
You try saying the director of Call Me by Your Name, I guess.
So I'm gonna throw it over to you guys, Kevin, Joe. You guys can take the reign. What's a category you really want to talk about first for starters? Dive into the nominations.
I'll pass this one off to you. What do you want?
Okay, well, the biggest thing I was happy about when I was looking at the nominations was my favorite movie last year got nominated, which was Logan for Best Adapted Screenplay.
Yes.
I was so happy to see that. I was like, thank God. I thought that movie honestly deserved it from the way, like, after just watching, I was like, this is like one of the best screenplays I've seen for a comic book movie since The Dark Knight, and I really wanted it to get nominated.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, I even wrote down on my handy sheet over here that get with all the Oscar nominations and whatnot. I even wrote down, I said, writing in a comic book movie is hardly ever recognized.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not gonna say Logan. I'm not gonna sit here and say like Logan is an explicit comic book movie because it isn't. But it is indeed a film that is based on a comic book property. You know what I mean? Or is based on characters from a comic book. And it's interesting though that it's not recognized in any other category, but it gets recognition in writing. And honestly, I think if you were only going to give it one nomination, that's the nomination you give it. I think I absolutely agree with it. I thought it was a very great film. Even if you want to segue and you want to keep it with writing for adapted screenplay, this is a stacked category. There's a lot of them this year. But
there's a lot of movies on here. I'm like, ooh, I don't know who it can be given to.
You have Call Me by Your Name. You have The Disaster Artist. You have Logan, Molly's Game, and Mudbound, all for best adapted screenplay. We're not gonna go too explicit in who we think will win. I might, I want to give it a couple more weeks and stuff. You want to see which way the wind blows in a way, but honestly, right now I'm looking at it. It could be Molly's Game just because of Aaron Sorkin.
It's probably gonna be on Molly's Game.
I mean, he picked one up for The Social Network like 5 or 6 years ago. What was that?
At the beginning of the year, or at the beginning of the decade.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the decade. Call Me by Your Name though could also get it too. I'm not gonna put it past that one either because that is based off a very acclaimed novel as well. But I was happy to see Logan at least get that. At least get a little love on that level because I do think it is a very special movie. It's one that's going to be remembered for many years too. As just a great film, even for people that don't love that kind of love that kind of a movie. Kevin, your turn. What do you want to talk about?
I'm just going to keep with the adapted screenplay thing. I was really big on Disaster Artist, specifically for the writing aspect of it. I'm so glad it got nominated because I think what they did with the materials that they were given, which was what was it, Greg Sestero's account of the making of, and then a bunch of other documentary footage and stuff. They took these different elements and adapted it into a story that's this really, really poignant meditation on artistic failure, and then and redemption out of artistic failure. And I thought, going into the movie, I was super skeptical. I thought it was just going to be kind of this Franco Rogan buddy comedy, with a funny impression.
Yeah.
Running through the whole thing.
I think a lot of people did.
I was really, really happy that they made it so much more. And I thought just the way that they turned the accounts of the making of The Room into this, story of artistic failure, I thought it was really, really well done. And I think a lot of that goes to the writing and how they used the accounts of the behind the scenes footage and stuff like that.
Very well.
I'm glad it got adapted screenplay.
Very well said. Very well said. You know what I want to bring up though? I will chime in with this, man. How about Baby Driver getting that love? How about Baby Driver getting that love for editing, and sound mixing? How about that? That I was very happy to hear Baby Driver not only be called, but at least called more than once. I think it showcases some of the best editing of the year.
Well, yeah, I mean, that whole movie is all about the sound. Honestly, it's the star of the show right there. Is the sound in Baby Driver.
Certainly wasn't the actors.
I look back a little bit to this morning. Okay, this even goes back a little bit to this morning. Okay, with Tiffany Haddish and Andy Serkis doing the announcements and stuff. The Academy right now, the Academy Awards, the Oscars, okay? In my opinion, and I think you saw this a lot last year, they have a real age gap issue in the regard that the people that like the Academy Awards and that follow them are usually not around our age group. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's more of, if anything, it's the Golden Globes. It's some of the fringe music awards. You know what I mean? But the Academy, I think in the coming years is going to have and this is, I think, a year that really is them trying to combat it. They're going to have a really hard time trying to, and I think they're making it harder than it should be. They're going to have a hard time trying to appeal to younger bases if they keep nominating their current films like Darkest Hour, like Phantom Thread. And I'm not saying they should explicitly cater to younger audiences, but I think when you include movies like Lady Bird, like Get Out, like Baby Driver, Star Wars, Logan, even Disaster Artist, I think you wind up appealing to a younger audience. And it's not like it's a way that you could see as egregious, because you can make very commendable arguments for all the films I just listed getting nominations. Sure. When you go back to Baby Driver in the editing categories, when you go to Star Wars: The Last Jedi in visuals, you can still have that kind of quality, but it doesn't need to be like the commonplace. I'll tell you right now, the Steven Spielberg film, only got 2 nominations. That really surprised me.
I was surprised Tom Hanks got snubbed. I'm like, Tom Hanks is just Tom Hanks in that movie. He's great. It's not a performance I was like, wow, Tom Hanks, you really knocked it out of the park. It's it's another Tom Hanks performance.
And Meryl Streep gets nominated too for Best Actress, making it her 21st nomination of her career, her 21st Oscar nomination. Here's the thing.
I think they nominate her every year, no matter what.
They do,
even if she's not in anything.
Yeah. Hell, she was nominated for Florence Foster Jenkins in Into the Woods. You know what I mean? The thing is, I like Meryl Streep. I'm already, Joe, I'm not high on The Post. I didn't love The Post. They got to stop giving Meryl Streep kudos for walking onto a film set. They really do. I mean, don't get me wrong. She's good in The Post. Did I think she need to replace? Here's the thing. Do I think that she's better than Jessica Chastain in Molly's Game? No. That's who should have gotten the 5th nomination in that category.
Oh,
in my
did she
opinion.
not get nominated?
Jessica Chastain didn't get nominated.
Oh my God! You're absolutely right then.
For Best Actress, you've got Sally Hawkins for The Shape of Water. You've got Frances McDormand for 3 Billboards, or as Tiffany Haddish says, 3 Billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri, which I love.
Missouri.
Margot Robbie for I, Tonya, Saoirse Ronan for Lady Bird, and Meryl Streep for The Post.
Wow.
Actress was always going to be a stacked category. I would argue that's the most stacked category of the 6 major categories. I would say that's the most bloated in that way in terms of talent. But I think rounding it out with Meryl Streep was not to say it's not unexpected, but I think that Jessica Chastain definitely gave a better performance.
They got to remind you're watching the Oscars. And if Meryl Streep's not on the list, what do you know what you're watching?
Are you even watching an award show at this point?
It's like how you drop the FM 89 tag at the top of every hour to remind the listeners what they're listening to.
You have to cut back to Meryl Streep's reaction.
Yeah, that's right.
True.
You know what else I'm really surprised about? It was a film you and I, Steve, were actually we actually liked, unlike most people out there, was Murder on the Orient Express wasn't nominated for anything.
Yeah, it didn't get anything, and I got a
Like,
couple.
I wasn't expecting director or best picture. I'm just like production design, costume design, hair, anything.
Yeah, I was surprised. That I think I was thinking about that on the ride over here, where I was like, you know what? There's two movies that were very visually dense that I thought were going to get more love, and that was Murder on the Orient Express, which didn't get any nominations, and War for the Planet of the Apes. You know, that really didn't get much either. You know, that got I believe visual effects is the only thing that one got.